Start recording. It's October 29th at 9:37 p.m. I'm basically showing this because I keep hearing all this stuff about evil Putin and, he has to be stopped. There's this guy, nut job, Kabbalah guru that's, we have to nuke. This is the crazy Jewish people, right? Amir Sarfati is another one who's leading the Messianic Christians of America on the next jihad to bomb the Middle East to smithereens in Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria, or now it's Putin has to be stopped. We're going to have a nuclear war with these people that they Armageddon is their fondest dream, really. That's their fondest dream is the world in the conflagration. The Christians, the Jewish messianics, the Jews, the Islamic fundamentalists, you name it. Well, Putin actually is a rational person. He's trying to ship grain to the third world. So, of course, with planning this is the British who do this. Now, let's hear from what just happened today after we've had the pipelines, bombed, the bridge in Crimea bombed, the nuclear reactor bombed. Fortunately, it hasn't blown up after they're putting together a dirty bomb of radioactive material. This is all reported on by real reporters over in Ukraine and real reporters in the hot zone in the Donbass Russian Federation area that are being bombed and have been bombed by Ukraine for 4 years. Along this has got to stop in terms of misinformation and calling it Russian disinformation. Give me a break. Here's a Canadian prepper talking about what's going on.
There's a certain amount of grams in each box, right? That has reduced significantly over the past 2 years. And we've just been told that Mountain House is getting ready to crank its prices by 10 to 15% again. Now, guys, something big happened this morning on the Black Sea with Russia and Ukraine and Turkey. They had this grain deal. They were supposed to secure passage for ships through this established corridor, this neutral zone, while the Russians are saying that the Ukrainians have violated that by attacking some of the ships that were supposed to be protecting the grain ships, and now that deal is off. It's no more. That means that all of that grain, a significant amount of grain that the Ukrainians were going to bring to market to ease grain prices, is not going to be there. So that isn't even what's being factored in to Mountain House. Grain is a staple of almost any type of freeze-dried meal because there is, typically some carbohydrate that accompanies it. But we've also seen the price of grain nearly quadruple since the year 2000. We've seen the price of wheat skyrocket, especially earlier this year. It's come down a bit now, but now it's going to go back up.
Be wondering what makes their humanitarian crisis so unimportant. Is it the color of their skin? Is it that they're not white? They're not European? There's no doubt about it. We're living in times of catastrophic crisis where the lives of innocent civilians are sacrificed in the wars of their masters. Yes, in Ukraine, but not only. Since the last plenary, tens of thousands of Afghani citizens have been forced to flee in search of food and safety. 5 million children face famine, an agonizing and painful death, a 500% increase in child marriages and children being sold just so they can survive, and not a mention of it. Not here, not anywhere. No wall-to-wall TV coverage, no emergency humanitarian response, no special plenaries, not even a mention in this plenary, no Afghani delegations, and no statements. My God, they must be wondering what makes their humanitarian crisis so unimportant. Is it the color of their skin? Is it that they're not white? they're not European, that their problems come from a US gun or a US invasion? Is it that the decision to rob their country's wealth was taken by a despotic US president rather than a Russian one? Because, my God, all wars are evil and all victims deserve support. And until we get on that page, we have no credibility whatsoever.
And the insanity is ratcheting up, as I keep saying. This is the Jewish Messiah has arrived, and he's in an interview. Apparently, I knew he had his advertisements were going up in where else but New York City. I don't know what his name is, but here he is. He's the man of mystery. He's the man of lawlessness.
They want to kiss his hand. They want to take pictures with him. Wherever he goes, he is literally packing up the place. Hundreds and thousands of people coming to listen to him every time he gives a teaching. This guy is like a rock star right now in Israel. He's becoming really, really famous. We all know that Yeshua is the Messiah, right? And for example, here in this part of the video, I just want to show you here some people walk up to him, and then you have the top rabbis in the back, basically kissing his hand. They want to come talk to him. They want to look at his eyes, and they want to know, who this guy is, because everybody's saying he is the Messiah, the chosen one that has come down. And I'll explain what Yanuka means in a minute. Here I'm going to show you another clip. Basically, in the Western Wall in Israel, there's a special place where rabbis pray, and this spot right here is the elite spot on the wall, and they're giving it to him to pray. So here's some footage. Yeah, as you can see, people are astonished. They stare him down, and they're looking at him like he is the chosen one, the Son of God. And we need to expose this for what it is. And here's another clip.
Okay, here's another nut job that I've seen. Kabbalah guru. You have to listen to these guys to see how nuts they are. I mean, what planet are they? Oh, they're planet Torah or planet Kabbalah or planet mystical, radical Baba Ram Dasville, Kabbalah guru. What's next? Here we go. Listen to his solution here's how we're going to bring peace.
Not have been a false report. Yeah, I know, Donna. We're all a little disappointed, but listen, this is war, and we are fighting a vicious, heavily entrenched enemy, and we have to get this right. We have to eliminate this force from the planet. I mean, if I also saw a column about something published, I believe around the year, I think in the late 1990s, maybe, about how they were going to eliminate 6/7 of the planet's population, how they plan to do it. So this is a very serious situation. This is not, we're not, those of us who are involved. And also, I also want to mention this other thing that.
Did you get that? He saw a report in the 1990s. Wonder where he saw that. And that they plan to eliminate 6/7 of the world's population. What is it going to be, a surprise nuclear attack on that's a madman over there. So meanwhile, we're going to blow up their ships that are trying to bring grain shipments to the third world. If anybody is going to bring on the second coming of their Messiah, who's they're all getting selfie shots of each other with this horrible music. I'd rather hear Christian rock, and I hate Christian rock. It's like the religious communities. It's unbearable just to listen to this stuff playing, but then to hear what comes out of their mouths. If this isn't madness, I don't know what is. We've got to eliminate the force of evil, that's over there, this despotic evil. How long are we going to listen to this shit? And it's your evil. I mean, it's Karl Marx, huh? Or Leon Trotsky. That's like Jew versus Jew. Let's go to as extreme a position as we possibly can. And but there's no Jesus Christ. Of course, that would be the last person, because he talks about peace and loving your neighbor, and anything to do with the Christ, or how about what I thought thou shalt not kill was one of the commandments. It didn't register with Kabbalah Guru or the whoever they are, the Marsafadis, the Mossad officer who's there talking about the brutal attacks on the Ukrainians by Russia. What, after they blew up the Crimea, the bridge, and they're trying to blow up a nuclear reactor, so all of a sudden there's vicious attacks going on. Oh, because they're on their way to wiping out 6/7 of the population on Earth. I thought that was what about the Chinese? They're going to wipe out China. They're going to just wipe out everybody, all their trading partners, and OPEC, who are their trading partners. We talk about isolated from reality. That the America and Israel have really become completely detached from reality. I saw in the Washington Post today that Russia is desperately seeking allies, some alliances. He's so isolated, he's seeking an alliance with Saudi Arabia and Iran. I guess the news hasn't gotten to Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post that they already have signed a treaty at the Eurasian Summit. All of these, China, India, Saudi Arabia, and is an OPEC, and Russia is an OPEC. And the day after Joe Biden came out with his fist bump, desperately looking for an alliance with the Saudis, they signed an alliance with Russia, with Putin coming in, embracing each other. I guess Jeff Bezos and his really sharp-witted reporters at the Washington Post who write for that rubbish dump, that Americans just, no matter what Jeff Bezos tells them, they're from his yacht out in the harbor about their concerns with global warming. And who can even talk sense to most Americans? I don't know how many people believe it. Let me see a show of hands. How many people believe or following Kabbalah Guru? Well, let's see what he's got. He's got 48,000 people listening to a lunatic talk about nuclear annihilation of the. How are you going to have a nuke Russia exactly, Kabbalah Guru, and your people of the people of what? People of the lie. This is just one big lie that's gone on forever. The chosen people, they're chosen to be exterminated. If you look at the Bible, if you look at the book of Revelations, what do you think they're chosen for? Exactly. You never read the Antichrist? They don't believe in that. I don't know, what do the Jews believe? I mean, the Orthodox Jews believe the Messiah's going to come. They have to sacrifice a bull, or they have to sacrifice red heifers, and then he's showing up there, and they're playing. They got the music, and he's bobbing in front of the thing, and they got their masks off. And what is he giving absolution like Pope Francis? Is he going to be up on Mount Sinai with Pope Francis now, or is this a separate Messiah? or is the Pope the Antichrist? It's getting really confusing. You can excuse me for lapsing into my usual discombobulation because I can't make sense out of any of this. I just follow Jesus Christ. I follow the Bible. I believe that these guys are antichrists. I believe that fake Messiah is an antichrist, and that the Pope is an antichrist, and that Barack Obama is an antichrist. I don't know who's going to show up exactly. Yuval Noah Hariri is the false prophet, or the Pope is a false prophet. I can't pin it down enough, except to know that this is, these people are not Christian, and Christians following them aren't Christians either. They're a little confused about Christ's message wasn't to have nuclear war against Russia and China and North Korea and Iran and Syria and Turkey and OPEC countries and Nicaragua, and Russia is moving nuclear weapons into Cuba now. So just keep ratcheting it up. And guess who's going to come out, blown to smithereens? Half the world, I don't know, and plus cut off all the grain supply and drive prices to the ceiling, like the Canadian prepper was referring to. It's all by design, and it's all by the design of Lucifer, who is ruling through these people, and their hatred is what it is. Everybody's evil except them. Okay, back to reality. After Kabbalah Guru gets through and the Messiah in Jerusalem, in America, the decline of the American mall has left just 700 still standing. Soon there may be just 150 left. I've been following this. 20 retailers are melting down right in front of our eyes. Who are they? It's all these big box stores, Best Buy. These retail chains may not survive a recession. The decline of American mall continues. Next. Look at that. Drop off a cliff compared to a year earlier. Penny, Nordstrom, Dillard's, Macy's, Kohl's. And this is going into the big fall season, big holiday run-up. 20 companies that may vanish during the downturn that is intensifying. Let's see. I have to excuse my discombobulation. Big Lots reports losses. That's one of them. And this is like stores that you would think would be exactly what would be open, but people can't even afford Big Lots. Doesn't see the situation improving anytime soon, and will again lose money in the second quarter. We've had 2 negative GDP quarters in a row, but that's not a recession. When do we get to a recession, I wonder? After we get to the Great Depression first? How many retail stores have to close? Neiman Marcus furloughing most of its 14,000 employees to emerge from bankruptcy. Yeah, you get rid of your employees in your stores. StubHub. WeWork. CEOs are stepping down. Twitter's just being reorganized, and they're screaming bloody murder that they might get fired for sitting around on their butts, censoring people's speech. Steak and Shake closes more restaurants, then sues top lender Fortress. Paper Store files for bankruptcy. Tuvana, even Talbots. It's just a bloodbath in general, and these are stores that Belk grabs the limited as exclusive label, filing after filing for Chapter 11. Last time I was at a mall, it was like half of it was closed at least. And what the business is all these little billabong. All I can say is good riddance. Sorry if I sound harsh, but Joanne says inflation, supply chain problems. Yeah, and guess what else? I'll just, be as negative as I possibly can. Maybe somebody will pay attention to this. 16 to 99 cents only. Stores, Walmarts are closing and laying off down south. We'll come back on the air. And diesel fuel is running out. This Mansfield, the biggest diesel and industrial fuel supplier in the southeast, has called a code red. That's the lowest supply they've had since, guess when? 2008. 2008, and for those who are younger or to have the usual amnesia, that was the big international global market collapse, beginning with the insurance companies, and the backstop was in the insurance companies, and the whole housing market collapsed overnight. And that's what we see now. The housing market's fallen off a cliff, and it's a dual crash. It's the rental market and the housing market. And no inventory is coming on the market from homeowners because they're locked into these mortgage rates that have doubled. So they don't want to go out and get double their mortgage rate if they sell their home. So what's coming onto the market is the BlackRock investment company panicking and trying to get rid of as much inventory as they can. So they're slashing, decapitating the prices, cutting 20, 30% off. The analysts I've listened to across the board are saying it's going to be like a 50% or so crash. And I think that might even be optimistic. But all of this is a tsunami, and it's coming from all different directions. Gas prices are going to shoot up. They've been artificially manipulated by Biden. So the people are just floating along thinking, the Democrats didn't just do so bad. I mean, Fetterman in Pennsylvania, he can't complete a English sentence, even with, having the script given to him for days to prepare with simple questions, because he's had a stroke, so his brain isn't functioning. But does that disqualify him from, Dr. Oz goes up a couple points, who's completely coherent. And there's no telling what the American people will do in any given election, because they don't follow policy. They don't follow the real news. They just follow the personalities. Oh, I like Dr. Oz, or I don't like Dr. Oz. I like Fetterman. He's pretty, so what if he's vegetable? He's a nice guy. I like the hoodie he always wears. And, he looks like he's real tough, like he'd put people in jail, or not put them in jail, because he shouldn't put them in jail if they're black, because he likes the black neighbors that he has, and they all like him. And I like black neighbors, and I like white neighbors too. And he's for fracking, and then he's not for fracking. And I think he's for fracking. I'm not sure, but I just like how he kind of looks real honest. He's a guy I can trust, or I don't trust him. I can't trust that guy. But as far as what their policies are, who knows, or who cares, basically. And who cares how they govern? You don't follow that. All right, here's a couple minutes of Jeffrey Sachs. Jeffrey Sachs is the guy that went over during the Reagan years with Gorbachev and the wall coming down, Sachs went over. He's a top economist, and he just resigned from Columbia University. But back then, he's the one who converted the Soviets to capitalism. So he knows a little bit more about Russia than Kabbalah Guru or the Amir Sarfati or any of these warriors from the CIA and the Mossad and British special agents blowing up shipping and the Nord Stream pipeline. He knows a little bit more about what's going to happen in Russia and in the Ukraine. So let's hear Jeffrey talk for 2 minutes.
No confidence in what we're doing to head this off, because they're dead set on doing whatever it takes. That's what they say all the time, whatever it takes to win this, for Ukraine to win this war. And since I don't think Russia's going to lose this war, short of nuclear war, to my mind, we're on a recipe of continued escalation. And I'll stop with the reading. I want to read you one set of words from my favorite speech of modern times by an American president, which is President John F. Kennedy's speech on June 10, 1963. And just to give a background about this, I wrote a book about this speech because I love it so much. After the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy and Khrushchev knew the world's insane. We can't go on this way. We're going to blow everything up. We need to find a way to peace. And Kennedy gave this speech on June 10, 1963, to convince Americans that it was possible to make peace with the Soviet Union, which was not a conventional view. How can you make peace with the commies? And Kennedy said, you know, we have to check our own attitudes. They're human beings. They have the same desires as we do, and they want to live in peace also. And so if the agreement is mutually satisfactory, it can be mutually observed. Very, very wise words by President Kennedy. And the whole speech is completely wonderful. And I've driven my family crazy for years by making them listen to it on multiple occasions. Especially when I was writing the book, they had to listen to it 10 times at least. But in any event, Kennedy said something that I really, really want to emphasize. He said, and it's the most important statement for this moment. He said,
we have certain data points about these deaths, but we don't have any sort of large international look at why this is happening. So new numbers out of the United States shows a total of about 17,000 excess deaths. Many reports are showing sudden cardiac arrhythmia. Children who are fine one moment, doing just fine, and then the next minute just dropping dead. This is an anecdotal story, but we could pick hundreds of them to talk about. This one, reading Illinois Representative Sean Casten, reveals that his teenage daughter died from sudden cardiac arrhythmia. People, this is not okay. He's a Democrat. He announced Friday that his daughter's death back in June was from cardiac arrhythmia. He says, this past June, our daughter Gwen Casten died of a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. In layman's terms, she was fine, and then her heart stopped. She had just come home from an evening out with friends, went to bed, and then didn't wake up. So let's look at the current American death rates. These are the current ones as of this hour here on my laptop, Phil, if you can take that. So this is the mortality rates right now, all the way up through September. Now, what's interesting is that earlier today, or I said like earlier this morning, this little curve was starting to go down, but now it's not. It's going up. So just look at this from 2020. Okay, here we are, 2020. Look at this increase. Let's see if I can get the little thing to pop up here. 2021 is right here, all the way up 2022, March, May, July, September.
We should clarify what we mean by excess deaths, because the government runs algorithms of how many deaths they expect per year around flu season, around holidays, from things like drunk driving, from things like aging. Those things are expected deaths. We are seeing this excess of deaths that is inexplicable. Some of them are related to heart disease. Many of them are related to cancer. And this is being duplicated in all through.
Well, I think if you look at that date of 2020, that something happened that makes these deaths more explicable to me anyway. And it's just like the man from Norway who was showing the excess deaths all through Europe in June. 1 month they jumped, like in some countries, up to 30-40%. They jumped in every single country. And I wonder what happened there with why all these people are going into cardiac arrhythmia. And I remember seeing this with sports stars, a film that they were falling in the middle of a game. There was any number, 6 or 7 of them in a video a while back, maybe a year or so back. But there's all the reports that have been coming in on the uncertainty about different expectations that you might have had were you not doing one thing and doing another. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything about medical issues, but this just hit me, seeing this as another aspect of the catastrophe that's going to be coming with all hell breaking loose after the elections. I think that, I don't know, the November 13th Mount Sinai New Commandments is a red flag to me. And the Antichrist and the second Messiah that we saw earlier, and these madmen talking about, their nonstop broadcasts about how we have to go to war with Russia, and we've got to fight to the last Ukrainian. The continual lack of common sense and lack of historical sense that somebody like even Jeffrey Sachs should be saying a lot more, because he knows a lot more, instead of this kind of, Professor Dr. Mr. Rogers neighborhood. Where's like the Irish MP? Where's people that really have some passion about all these people dying? That this got to stop, that have their access to a microphone in Parliament. Okay, here's the interesting thing about this man here, that Yuval Noah Hariri, is they're not in Klaus Schwab's right-hand man, Klaus Schwab's brain. They're not at all secretive about what their plans are and what their intentions are, and why the food supply is being crashed, and why the economic systems are being destroyed, and the housing market, and the currencies, and their implementation of this New World currency and New World 10 Laudato Si, global climate change on Mount Sinai. And so this is the Mr. and Mrs. He's got a gay husband, or he's got a gay wife. I don't know, it's a homosexual marriage. It's a whole new future of different sexual dimensions, 50 different sexes. And here's what he has in mind for the population, and it's already implemented. But they're happy to see people in this kind of condition, and people are happy in this kind of condition, which is why they say, you'll be happy, you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy.
Watch this. The big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
The Roman Empire had bread and circuses. Klaus Schwab's hero, Karl Marx, said religion was the opium of the people. But today's elites have hit upon a deadly formula to keep the permanent underclass happy: video games and drugs. Make no mistake, the global elite wants you drugged and in a stupor. The makers of idiocracy.
So this has been going on for decades, and it's getting worse. People are tuning out completely. Like, they have no idea what's going on in Ukraine. They have no idea. And they're told whatever, fantasy about the Kabbalah guru people and the Sadhgurus and the Oprahs and the Joy Bihars. All the pundits are talking garbage. All the newspapers and MSNBC, it's just infotainment. And Yuval Noah Harari is the most beloved figure of the late night comics. He comes out to wild applause because he's saying, you're going to have all these fantastic neural implants in the back of your head, and you'll have Google specs and you'll have the mark of the beast in your forehead. And in Norway, or one of the Scandinavian countries, they were lining up to get these circuitry planted in their wrists so they could mimic the beast system, and probably put 666 on their rump. Or they think this is a joke. I mean, they think that there isn't any problem with losing your mind on LSD because all the other kids are doing it and sitting in the game room with their parents. When I was in Albuquerque, the parents were all playing video games. The parents would be about 15 years older than the kids, and they'd all be on. Then they'd divorce, or they'd have multiple sex partners or whatever. It just normal becomes life is what? It's all just a big fun fantasy world that you live in and you die after that. And so it doesn't really matter anyway, because there is no God, just like Yuval Noah Harari and the disciple of Karl Marx, Klaus Schwab, says. And we're going to discover the secrets of the universe at the Large Hadron Collider. And we're going to go live on the Mars colony. And we can't even launch a spaceship by NASA. And the satellites are being destroyed by like 80% of the Musk satellites that went up were destroyed in asteroids shower. I call that the hand of God. And I call everything the hand of God. And I see that God is letting it, just as he said he would, he's letting the devil have his way, because human beings, he's turned his back on the Americans. And he's turned his back on the Western Europeans, and he's turned his back on, I gotta find something. Where did I put it? Okay, let's look at this for a minute. Do you believe trans women are women and should have the same rights as them? Percentages for yes. This is fascinating. Look at Russia, 2%. Look at the Eastern countries, 6%, 4%, 8%, 12%, then 15%, 10%, 12%. You go over to Western Europe, and you're hitting these jumps all the way to 65%. Like, it goes from 2% to 4% to 15% to 43%. Look up at the Scandinavian countries, 75%, in Spain, 65%. So that's the big difference, is you can tell that Russia doesn't want any part of the gay rights agenda. It's the Russian Orthodox Church. So why is the West forcing their transgender agenda on a country that doesn't want it? Since when do we have the right, because our cultural values go into the sewer, to think that the rest of the world is going to have debauchery because for one thing, what does it do? Well, you don't have a very productive economy, as Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Hariri have planned for the West, of people sitting around, masturbating, not necessarily physically, but there's also such a thing as intellectual masturbation, where you just sit in your little fantasy world, pleasuring yourself, pleasuring your brain. It's like masturbatory cocaine abuse, or the pleasureful LSD, or you're being enlightened hardly. What's enlightened about a guy with a needle sticking out of his elbow, or their buttocks? In the Warhol factory, they would inject each other in the rump with the same drug that Hitler's Panzer units used. That's what Jack Kennedy was using. That's what he was a refugee from Nazi Germany that made this concoction that Hitler was on and gave him Parkinson's. That's what you see with, Kennedy had Addison's disease. And that's what made him so priapic or sex driven, is amphetamine drugs. That's what was throughout. That's driving the cocaine and the ecstasy and euphoria and the music and everything else. So what kind of society did Caligula's Rome have? And then jackasses like Kabbalah Guru, these morons, Russia is evil. Why? Because they have a civilized society. If you've taken a look, Kabbalah Guru at Red Square in Moscow, at St. Petersburg, do you see statues knocked over and spray paint all over everything, and jerk-offs with their yoga mats? Sorry for the blunt language, but it's these people are driving the world into nuclear war just because of their egomania and their narcissism. The Russian people don't want war any more than anybody else who has a half a brain, that has better things to do than sit on a yoga mat and snort cocaine and listen to Yuval Noah Harari tell them they're retarded and they're useless. Useless eaters, as they're called. And they all applaud as he tells them they're retarded. Oh, because they're the advanced evolutionary society of Homo sapiens. This is the evolution that we've all been promised by those scientific progressives, is to put a neural link in the back of your head and think you're Elon Musk's slave. You can go to work at Twitter, on a social network, and sit around all day and watch Billie Eilish or Keith Richards or Madonna with their new breast implants, a 67-year-old talk about giving blowjobs to anybody voting for Hillary Clinton. It's gross. Doesn't have any sense. Man, it's just gotten pig-like. There's the 60s were bad enough, but this is a generation just wallowing in the gutter. And the pastors and the preachers don't say anything about it. They're all joining in on it. Let's have some Christian rock music, folks, and get rid of the speaking tongues and roll on the floor, and everybody's healed, and we're going to have a revival. A revival of what? Oh, we're going to go over and fight the Russians. Wait till they show up on the front lines. These guys with their computerized. All they're used to is sitting in Nevada and pushing buttons and blowing up people with a drone that they're watching. It's like playing video games. I really think they should take Kabbalah Guru, and I think they should take all these his IDF people and get them up on the front lines and let the Ukrainians have a break and let the British army have at it and see how well they do. That's the problem. Is back in the old days, George Washington or Napoleon or Robert E. Lee or Ulysses S. Grant had to show up on the battlefield. George Armstrong Custer, they had to face a cavalry charge against Native Americans or against the Confederates or the Confederates against the Union. Here, these people weigh 400 pounds and sit around in condos in Miami or what, the betray us or Stanley McChrystal or whatever their names are. They're just investors. They're multi-million-dollar investors. And that's not to disparage. There are a lot of terrific military people. All the ones there are saying this is madness. The Douglas McGregors or the Colonel Black or whoever, you're saying this is just slaughter. They're just slaughtering these Ukrainians against a superior force that's mobilized 300,000 new troops and will have up to 1 million fresh troops and have endless amounts of manufacturing ability when Germany's run out of ammo already. So what are they going to do? Are they going to get spears? Are they going to revive the Roman Empire and go after them with chariots or chariots of fire? There's going to be fire, all right. But just like Sachs said, it's going to end up in nuclear war because we can't win a conventional war. Russia doesn't have any interest in nuclear war. Why would they? They can win a conventional war with their hands tied behind their back. They've already done it. They've already won the war, in case anybody's following the actual conditions on the ground. As the Ukraine army has collapsed, the cream of their army has just been thrown away, just like Hitler when he went into Moscow, or just like Napoleon when he drove on Moscow and they all freeze to death. They all, it's this heroism. It's like Into the Valley of Death rode the 5,000 or the 500 or whatever. In Afghanistan, the graveyard of empires. Why is it that the people that get the microphones always are these nut jobs, messianic people who want to bring on Armageddon? Why is it exactly? Well, I would say it's because that's exactly what the people who own the press and the microphones and the public at large wants. They want to dance out at around the campfire at Burning Man and have a ball. They don't care. Particularly if they're older, they want to go out. The Nancy Pelosi's, they want to go out with a big bang. They want to that's narcissism. It's called narcissism. It's completely destructive. Narcissists want to destroy everything when they're old and ugly and have their sex life is in the toilet like it always was. And so they get their thrills out of death. They get their thrills out of mass slaughter of youth. As ugly as it is, that's the Luciferian component in human nature, with people that have sold their soul to the devil and the people that are possessed by the demonic, the people that are possessed by pure evil. And that's where we're at now. Anyway, that's my wrap up for the evening is pick up the Bible. I'll pick up a Bible. This is the American Standard Bible, which I'm not crazy about, but since I have it sitting here. Proverbs, pitfalls of immortality. My son, give attention to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, that you may observe discretion, and your lips may reserve knowledge. For the lips of an adulteress drip honey, I just thought thinking of Madonna and Cardi B and just how vulgar it's gotten, and Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. It's talking about the whore of Babylon, talking about harlotry. And smoother than oil is her speech. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold of Sheol, that's Hades. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways are unstable. She does not know it. Now then, my sons, listen to me and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, or you will give your vigor to others and your years to the cruel one. And strangers will be filled with your strength, and your hard-earned goods will go to the house of an alien. And you groan at your final end when your flesh and your body are consumed, and you say, how I have hated instruction, and my heart spurned reproof. I have not listened to the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to my instructors. I was almost in utter ruin in the midst of the assembly and congregation. And nowadays, the assembly and congregation encourages you. You know, have the women in their go-go boots, have them singing their seductive songs about love and sex and romance. The songs, the lyrics of the songs, I was listening to the top, I wasn't listening to it because it's unbearable, but I was reading the lyrics of a top Christian song. Let me cue that up before I go. I'm just having a field day. What else can I do? Oh, here it is. Boy, I just missed it. There was a Top Gun commercial that I didn't, that came on over top this. It's just perfect. Because what else are you selling with this? This is Christian rock. I mean, if I didn't know it was Christian rock, I would think it was a death metal band, and I would think they're going to show up in Ukraine with Bono and talk about we got to defeat the evil empire. And then there's Top Gun, and there's a nuclear bomb explosion behind him. So this doesn't this remind you of Jesus, the gentle Savior of love and peace? Still all tattooed with all this symbolism. What's on there? I'd like to get a close up of that, but I don't know if I can even get a close up of it. I don't even know how to work this bloody thing. I just have to get to the lyrics. Hold on a second. Bear with me. I'm old and in the grave almost. Yeah, look at this. I mean, it's really too much. This is Christian rock today. What are these? The inverted triangles. What is on his hand? What's written on this woman's? You know, look at the cleavage. It's not quite. Well, it's like Dolores Reardon of the Cranberries or something. All of them have to be tattooed. All of them has to have this. What is this like? Pet Shop Boys, 1980s retro neo. Uh, Frankie Goes to Hollywood or New Order, New World Order. Isn't that great? You know, Joy Division to New Order to this is New World Order Christianity. Yeah, it's real Christian. This is Antichrist. Sorry, folks. Oh, there you go. Just that Duran Duran. That's who I was thinking of. They teased the 2020 tour, maybe, and they'll open for Skillet. And there you go. There's the Kanye controversy, and then they'll have them at the Super Bowl. Kanye and Skillet and Duran Duran, and Madonna with her. She'll come down from the ceiling with her new jugs. Let me get to the latest from the Madonna. No, I can't. I can't look. Oh, I just love it. They're from Memphis, Tennessee. That's what I said, named by the Freemason Andrew Jackson, the president, and his two Freemason buddies. I can't recall their names off the top of my head. But he founded Memphis and named it after as a Freemason, which is where they come from, the city in the ancient Egypt of the pharaohs. And Memphis is also Sun Records. Where does that come in? It's Ra, this god, the sun god, which is where they're having the ceremonies along with at Mount Sinai. And Memphis is where Martin Luther King was shot, and where Elvis is from, and Johnny Cash is from, with singing with Bono, the Mercy Seat. All these Christians, they're just so Christian. Skillet is an American Christian rock band. The band currently consists of husband and wife Corey Cooper, blah 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 blah. They've released 8 albums and Grammy Award nominations. And I can see all the people being converted to Christ with lyrics like this. Let's get it. And awake. I think it should be woke, shouldn't it? Oh, they've gone from woke to awake. Let's get the story straight. You were a poison. You flooded through my veins. You left me broken. You tried to make me think. No chance of that. That the blame was all on me. With the pain you put me through, and now I know that it's not me, it's you, you. It's not me, it's you, you. Always has been. All the lies and stupid things you say and do. Who is that? Who's telling lies? Isn't that Satan? Isn't this Satan who they're talking about? Isn't this Satan is what they look at? The man in black, Johnny Cash. Elvis was a pedophile. I hate to break the news to the Michael Jackson fans and everyone else that there's a lot of stuff here that should meet the eye by now. Just looking at it, much less reading. These are Christian lyrics. So here we go again. The same fight we're always in. I don't care. So why pretend? Wake me when your lecture ends. You tried to make me small, make me fall, and it's all your fault with the pain you put me through. And now I know that it's not me, it's you. Who are they even talking about? It's not me. Clue me in, young Christian rockers. Those are these people that are all dying that the Morrises were just reporting on with cardiac arrhythmia in the middle of the night. Maybe that's something to do with the satanic. Maybe that's something to do with what Satan does with young children and younger people and get them hooked on this kind of dark satanic look and tattoos and stunning sex come on outfits. Hero, monster, don't wake me, awake and alive. Should I pull another one? Believe, forgiven, sometimes never surrender. That's Tom Petty, isn't it? Stand me up at the gates of hell and I won't back down. Never surrender. I thought you were supposed to surrender your will to God. What? Never surrender? Do you know what it's like when you're scared to see yourself? Do you know what it's like when you wish you were someone else who didn't? This is like heavy metal music with a softer. It's like soft metal or something. It's like elevator music metal. So you don't play it so loud and act too proud. Do you know what it's like when you're not who you want to be? Do you know what it's like to be your own worst enemy? What? This isn't the Psalms. Let's see. Let's just go to Psalm 21. Does this sound like the skillet or the skittles or whatever they're called? Psalm 21, O Lord, in your strength, the King will be glad, and in your salvation, how greatly he will rejoice. You have given him his heart's desire, and you have not withheld the request of his lips, for you meet him with the blessings of good things. You set a crown of fine gold on his head. He asked life of you, you gave it to him, length of days, forever and ever. His glory is great from your salvation, splendor and majesty. you place upon him, for you make him most blessed forever. You make him joyful and gladness in your presence. For the king trusts in the Lord, and through the loving kindness of the Most High, he will not be shaken. Your hand will find out all your enemies. Your right hand will find out those who hate you. You will make them as a fiery oven in the time of your anger. The Lord will swallow them up in his wrath, and fire will devour them. Their offspring you will destroy from the earth, and their descendants from among the sons of men. Though they intended evil against you and devised a plot, they will not succeed, for you will make them turn their back. You will aim with your bowstrings at their faces. Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength. We will sing and praise your power. See, you will aim your bowstrings at their faces, not I will. Not let's go out and slaughter people on the battlefield. God, that's God's province is the battle on earth. Ours is the spiritual battle against this kind of nonsense, against all this. Here's another one. It's just astounding to me that Satan has infiltrated these Christian progressive churches or liberal churches. I don't know what they're certainly not conservative churches, except in the sense of the warmongering Billy Graham church of the Vietnam War and no war that Billy Graham didn't support, as far as I recall. Plus, he's on Larry King talking about there's more than one way to go to heaven. You don't go through Jesus Christ. Yeah, you go through Bono these days. Let's see this masterpiece of lyricism. Makes you wish for Bono to come back. Not really. Sorry, I forget I said that. The secret side of me I'll never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't control it. So stay away from me. The beast is ugly. The beast? Who's the beast? I feel the rage and I just can't hold it. This is not a Christian song, it's a satanic song. Hello? It's scratching on the walls, in the closet, in the halls. It comes awake and I can't control it. Are they singing this in Joel Osteen's church? They must be singing it in Andy Stanley's church since they're playing Led Zeppelin. Let's see what it sounds like. I don't know if I can even play this. Do it then. Oh no. No thanks. Bye. All right, let's stop there. All right, God sent me one more thing. Just Isaiah 1:21. Zion corrupted to be redeemed. How the faithful city has become a harlot. She who was full of justice, righteousness once lodged in her, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross, your drink diluted with water. Your rulers are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loves a bribe and chases after rewards. They do not defend the orphan, nor does the widow's plea come before them. Therefore the Lord God of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, declares, I will be relieved of my adversaries and avenge myself on my foes. I will also turn my hand against you, and I will smelt away your dross as with lye, and will remove all your alloy. Then I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. After that, you will be called the city of righteousness, a faithful city. Zion will be redeemed with justice, and her repentant ones with righteousness. But transgressors and sinners will be crushed together. And those who forsake the Lord will come to an end. Surely you will be ashamed of the oaks which you have desired. You will be embarrassed at the gardens which you have chosen. For you will be like an oak whose leaf fades away, or as a garden that has no water. The strong man will become tinder, his work also a spark. Thus they shall both burn together, and there will be none to quench them. God bless. Amen.